Hello and welcome to this episode of Kennedy Saves the World. I'm very excited because this Memorial Day weekend, I'm going with my sexy teenage boyfriend to the Indy 500. And I'm excited for a couple reasons. Number one, I love motorsports. You know that I am an F1 fan. I have gone to two NASCAR races so far and have been watching and learning a lot about NASCAR. I know almost nothing about IndyCar racing, but I'm from Indiana. I was born in Indianapolis, and I'm excited to go back to the state of my birth. It's a very special place, and I love being from Indiana. We didn't live there for too long into my childhood, but we went back every summer to reconnect with my grandmother, and I've always loved having Midwestern roots. I also love that when I was 1 year old, I went to the Indy 500 and supposedly I was a delight. I obviously have no memory of it. So I'm excited to go back and really embrace the spectacle that is the largest single day event in terms of spectator attendance. There's something like 500,000 people that go to the Indy 500. So I'm looking forward to going to the Brickyard. I'm looking forward to seeing how Indianapolis has changed and what kind of people descend. Are there a lot of people from different parts of the world who go see the Indy 500? Is it people who also love different types of motorsports? Are there just IndyCar enthusiasts, and are they protective of their love and subculture because NASCAR and Formula One get so much of the conversation, including NASCAR driver Kyle Larson, who qualified fifth in the Indy 500. So he is going to race in the Indy 500. Then he is going to fly to the NASCAR race, and he's going to race 1,100 miles of racing in one day, which is a phenomenal feat. And he had an average lap time of like 233 miles per hour when he was qualifying for the Indy 500. So he's obviously really fast. And apparently he races everything. He races stock cars on dirt tracks and trucks and carts. And apparently he just loves to race. He loves going fast. So I wouldn't be surprised if next year he's a jockey in the Kentucky Derby. That's how good the guy is.
Don't go anywhere. More Kennedy Saves the World right after this.
So my paramour is very excited to see the Indy 500 live in person because it's a bucket list for him. And I'm very excited to take him back because this is a crazy story. The last time I was in Indianapolis, my dad had an aortic dissection. That really happened. We were on our way to my aunt's funeral because she had died of a massive heart attack and my dad was having chest pains. And I was like, is it like when someone who's not pregnant starts having sympathy labor pains when their sister goes into labor? No, it turns out we went to a small hospital in Seymour, Indiana, and they kind of misdiagnosed him at first. A neighbor of mine is a cardiothoracic surgeon. So I called her and I was like, my dad's cardiac enzymes are normal. His EKG is normal, but he's still having this horrible chest pain. They're telling him it's indigestion and they wanted him to take a Tums and leave. And she said, make sure they do a CT scan to rule out aortic dissection, which is a really important thing to know if you do have chest pain and everything else seems normal. Make them give you a CAT scan because that's exactly what happened. The doctor in the emergency room didn't want to do that for my dad. He said that he does not give CT scans for chest pain. My friend, the surgeon, said, if you don't, I'm going to come down there and smack you with a wooden spoon or something like that in medical jargon. So my dad had an aneurysm in his descending aorta that was about to dissect, which means it starts to tear. And apparently, according to the doctor, it tears from the inside out. And they asked if we wanted to drive my dad to Indianapolis to one of the trauma hospitals there or fly him on a 7-minute flight versus a 90-minute ambulance ride. Luckily, we took the flight because and I didn't take the flight. I ended up driving, but they flew my dad, took about 9 minutes to go from Seymour to Indianapolis. They got him in the in the OR rather, and his aorta had already started dissecting. That means that it had already started tearing. And the doctor told me, the surgeon who operated on him, who did an incredible job at Methodist Hospital, said that if the full thing, if the aorta dissects completely, your heart empties out in 4 pumps, and there's no way of putting all the blood back in there. So, of course, I'm sleeping in the hospital, waiting for any news about my dad. I had pushed 2 love seats together and slept diagonally in the cardiac critical surgical unit waiting room. And a nurse came in and woke me up in the middle of the night and said, your dad is kind of giving us a hard time, which, if you knew my dad, not terribly surprising. And he apparently was trying to pull all his tubes and wires and buzz things out of his body. And so I went up and he saw my face and he was like, "What am I doing here?" And I was like, "You're in the hospital." And he's like, "I'm in the hospital." And I'm like, "You have to calm down right now. If we're going to continue this conversation, you have to calm down." I said, "You've just had surgery." He's like, "I had surgery." I'm like, "Seriously, like you're getting more excited. Like the good stuff's still coming." I was like, "You had surgery on your heart." He's like, "On my heart." I'm like, "Bro, I'm going to slip you a sedative right now. I'm going to slip a Mickey into your IV to knock you out because you are being a pain in my keister." So luckily, we got him settled and he calmed down. And that was in August of 2010. And that November, we were able to go to my friend's house, the cardiothoracic surgeon who gave the life-saving advice, and he was able to raise a glass and toast to my friend who saved his life, to whom he will forever be grateful. And I always thought, what a wonderful thing. Midwesterners, they always tend to remember those who care for them, and they always do such an incredible job of caring for people who are in need. So I'm very happy to be from Indiana. I'm very, very happy to be going back to the place, the hospital that saved my dad's life. He's no longer with us because he had another aortic dissection. Unfortunately, he did not survive that one. So you always have to have the proper diagnostics. And when it's your time, it is your time. It is my time to go back to Indianapolis, and I will report on what I see at the 500. I'm sure it's going to be an amazing race. If you're there, please come find me. Let's high five. If you are a Midwesterner, particularly of the Hoosier variety, I will give you an extra special double high five. This has been Kennedy Saves the World. I'm Kennedy.
Listen ad-free with a Fox News Podcast Plus subscription on Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Prime members can listen to this show ad-free on the Amazon Music app. Oh, go ahead and leave me a review while you're there. I'd love to hear what you have to say. You've been listening to Kennedy Saves the World on the Fox News Podcast Network.